All right. Welcome to Beers with Bud. Today we got Alex Garza with us. Alex, thank you for being on the show. Cheers,
Thank
buddy.
you for having me. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Cheers, brother.
All right. So,
Like a glove.
yeah. Thank you for coming on, buddy. I appreciate you joining in. So, you and I have known each other for a long time.
Long time.
We were
It seems like we've kind of known each other a lot longer.
Yeah, we had that good relationship. But you helped me out in some trying times. We were roommates at one point when I moved in with you and your family.
Well, I like to raise kids. I like to bring them in. I'm like a foster care.
Yeah. But anyway, thank you for, like I said, thanks for coming on. Appreciate you being here.
Honestly, love to be here.
Cool. So starting it off, what's your go-to beer? What do you love?
Ooh, good question.
And it better not be Corona.
No. I see what you did there.
Oh?
No. So, again, I'm a little bit old school, raised by old school parents. And I'm not a beer snob. There should be no such thing as a beer snob.
Right.
You try a beer, you fucking like it, you drink it. My go-to beer is whatever else anybody else is drinking.
Yeah.
I really don't have a go-to beer because I like beer.
Okay, so...
And if there's some beers I don't like, I would say it tastes like fucking rat piss.
Right.
And
But what do you, stock your fridge with? What do you come home to?
I don't stock beer anymore.
You don't have any beer in your fridge at all right now?
Oh, yeah, I have beer.
What is it?
But I know, I don't stock beer, but I have beer, right? Contradicting myself. No, I stock beer with people who come to my house that I know that's their preference. So that's why I have excess beer.
Okay.
So if I were to buy beer for myself, you're going to make fun of me. I'm going to do Dos Equis.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah.
I used to be a heavy beer drinker. I used to drink a couple of beers here and there every night. Got older, family, kids. And I don't know, you just kind of grow out of it to an extent. You still drink it, or I do. But I'm stocking my beer, but if I had a preference, it would be Dos Equis.
Yeah.
But I don't drink beer like I used to.
Right.
It's Dos Equis is light beer, add a little lime and salt.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's light because it goes good with food.
Right.
Now, my preference of drink, that would be Johnny Walker Black.
Yeah.
And it's only because I cannot afford Johnny Walker Blue. Yes.
Yeah. So you're a Scotch guy then?
Yeah, there you go.
So I'm not. All right. I can't do Scotch. Can't do it. Never have been. I'm a whiskey guy. Right. I do bourbon. I'll do some rye.
Oh, I can't do rye.
Some rye.
But I can, but it's strong.
I also like Canadian whiskeys, man. I mean, you got to give the neighbors up north their due diligence. They have good whiskey.
100. Canadian whiskey, they have a smooth taste.
They do.
There's no bite to it. They don't make your face go like this.
Yeah, you're right. And that's what I mean. Crown Royal. I'm a big Crown Royal guy. Love Crown Royal. But like I said, bourbon's kind of my jam. I'm a big Jim Beam dude. Love Jim Beam.
You can never go wrong with Jim. Uncle Jim.
Yeah. So you stock beer typically to
from my guess,
right, to appease people, right?
Yes.
So you're like, hey, I got my boy coming over. He likes X beer. I'm gonna have a 12-pack for him, or if he brings it and he decides to leave it, it's gonna stay there for when he comes back.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of similar to the beer drinkers and the IPA effect. IPAs are a bit stronger.
Right.
Therefore, those people don't
type thing. You know what I mean?
So here's my opinion on that. If you're gonna go that high of an alcohol tolerance,
you might as well make it booze.
You might as well fucking make it booze.
I'm sorry, I should have let you finish that.
No, I'm okay with it because here's the deal. If you want to get that kick of a beer, go liquor.
Yeah, just drink a whiskey.
Yeah,
or it's vodka.
It's really that simple.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm 37 years old. I'm old. I've been drinking a lot. I have acquired a taste of, and I guarantee you this for our listeners, people who drink bourbon or whiskey or rye or whatever, you build your tolerance and the taste kind of goes out the window, and you can start appreciating what you're getting. Therefore, like when I do Johnny Walker Black, I'm not advertising Johnny Walker Black. You choose whatever you want. Johnny Walker Black has a high tolerance of alcohol, has a little kick to it, but it's drinkable. Like it's
acquired taste.
It's definitely an acquired taste.
Yeah.
And it has the same effect other than 3 or 4 or 5 IPAs. Like, and I drink my shit neat. No ice.
Just straight whiskey scotch.
Just straight. Again, all of it's acquired.
Right. I think, and there, scotch especially, I think that's the case, right? Because a lot of scotches have the smoky taste to them. And I don't like it. I just don't like that.
Yeah, you know what is funny about that, though? I don't really like that either.
I hate it. Can't do it.
How familiar are you with Johnny Walker? Even if it's black, blue?
Not very. I can say I've tried Johnny Walker Blue Label once. I've had shots of Johnny Walker. I know it's not supposed to be a shooter, so don't crucify me, people. I know it's not supposed to be a shooter. But I've had shots of Johnny Walker, other red, black.
Yeah.
And I've tried Blue Label. But to me, when I've had my samplings of Johnny Walker in various in the varieties that I've had it tastes just the same to me as every other scotch I've ever tried. So, which
is probably like shit, because the only reason I say that,
right,
I've had Johnny Walker Blue because of somebody else. I honestly think Johnny Walker Blue tastes like shit.
I don't think it's great.
I just haven't graduated to that acquired taste yet.
And that might be it, right? It might be a graduated thing.
It is. It's 100% it is.
I guess so, but I don't think I'd ever be there.
Like I graduated to black, got accustomed to that taste. I was like, this is really good. This is what I want.
Yeah.
I'm at this level of that type of liquor.
Yeah.
I've had blue. God damn, that makes my face cringe. And it's funny because the more years on my opinion, the more years on a liquor, I personally think it tastes like shit.
Well, I think that most people would just associate that the older a liquor is, the smoother or better tasting it is, and that's not the case, right?
Fuck no.
But like, I think that the general people that are average consumers of alcohol, like normally, right? I think they're like, oh man, this has been aged 12 years. It must be a great liquor, like. And they say it in movies. It's actually in pop culture, right? You see it in movies all the time, like, oh, that's 20-year-old scotch. How dare you? And you're like, to people like me, it might be a class thing, right? It could be a class thing.
It is, because those people
I'm like...
But those people aren't wrong. Those people just have acquired the taste, can afford it, graduated to it to where they can drink it almost regularly, more than your common Joe. And they like the taste.
I think you mean average Joe.
What did I say, normal Joe?
You said common Joe.
Same difference. Potato. When in Rome.
Furtado.
But no, it's. I guarantee you if I keep drinking Johnny Walker Black, at some point, no, not at some point, I ain't paying that. Love Johnny Walker, I ain't paying that.
So
And I only pay for Johnny Walker Black because my specific liquor store that I go to has it on sale all the time.
Right. I've only bought Johnny Walker Blue. I've bought it one time ever, and it was for a gift for somebody else that appreciated it, right? Because I don't appreciate it.
I want to be close to you like that. Where you invite me Johnny Walker Blue?
Yeah. Well, you could be one day in that inner circle. But I bought it as a gift, right? For someone else that could appreciate it more than me, because I know that like it's pretty sought after. I mean, it's not like a crazy reserve that a lot of liquor companies have. But it's a class thing, right? If someone says,
I think it's a class thing.
It is. And if someone says, "Oh yeah, let's take some out of the blue. Let's take some out of the blue label,"
and you're like, "Oh, blue."
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. And people that think that it's like, yeah, that's what it should be. It should be blue label. I think they're usually wealthy people that are in a higher class of individuals that really care about that sort of thing. And then you get to the lower end of the spectrum people, they're like, what the fuck is Johnny Walker Blue Label? Okay, I'll try it.
Well, the ironic thing about this is...
And then people that know about it, they're like, oh, wow, I just know that it's really expensive.
Well, the ironic thing about this is you and I haven't even tasted good, expensive shit.
Probably not.
Like, we may have tasted it, but that's probably once, twice in our life.
Yeah.
Because I do know for a fact Then you start throwing labels out there like Macallan.
I don't think I've heard of it.
Macallan?
Yeah. I don't think I've heard of it.
And I hope I'm saying this correctly, but it's like Macallan 18 or Macallan whatever. Then you start getting on a level to where you start drinking Macallan, and let me tell you something. I've tasted Macallan. You're paying, it's just like a car or shoes or clothes. You're getting what you're paying for. Macallan 18, Macallan whatever. I don't have any experience in that. You start talking about upper echelon high end liquor, and that shit that's up there.
There's a whole ball game different.
There's no gray area.
Right. There's a big league.
Yes.
Yeah. And there might be.
Yeah.
And you probably have a point to that, right? That says, people that
I mean, you have
regularly drink that,
yeah.
routinely drink that type of liquor on that high end of a spectrum, and they look at Johnny Walker Blue Label and like, cool.
Yeah.
You better have Johnny Walker Blue Label, because if not, then I don't even have any business being here.
Well, let me tell you something. Even if I had a shit ton of money, how I represent myself is not by the fucking liquor I drink.
Right.
It's by my company.
That's a good point.
It is. My friends don't give a shit what I have them. I serve them or offer them.
Right.
I don't give a damn. Here's any normal Joe, or is it average Joe?
Average Joe.
Any average Joe.
You tell me a little about where you're from, right? You're from Texas.
I am born and raised in Dallas, Texas. And when I say Dallas, I don't mean the outskirts of Dallas. I am from Oak Cliff, which is Dallas, and love my upbringing. Everybody's upbringing is not where they come from. It's who raises them. And I personally feel that way. My neighborhood wasn't the best, and I'm not going to be one of those guys that says, oh, I come from a tough neighborhood, this and that. Fuck that. You get dealt a hand of cards, you play your cards right, it is what it is. I don't come from the best neighborhood, but my upbringing, my mom, my dad, they loved me, they took care of me, they showed me some things I shouldn't do, they showed me things I should do, but in the end, I was raised on respect, but I come from Dallas, Texas, and the part of Dallas that's not the greatest. Like, okay. It's not a good town.
Okay.
But I do love it. It's getting better. Like the 90s, oh my God, the 90s was bad.
Yeah.
But the 90s was bad everywhere.
So you're from Dallas.
Yep.
We're both here in Colorado now. How did you end up here? Did you live anywhere else? Is it just like job oriented? Or?
Great question. So prior Army, can I say that?
Okay.
Okay. And it's going to lead to how I came here. I met my wife. I met her at a college party.
Party time.
Met her at a college party. Saw her. We hit it off right away. I knew she was the one. And she hated Texas. She's originally from Fort Collins. Born and raised.
Colorado,
yep.
Right? Yeah,
born and raised Fort Collins, Colorado.
Nice.
And I was like, all right.
She was in Texas?
Yeah, she was going to Texas Women's University.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I had friends we had mutual friends, right?
Uh-huh.
Met her, followed her out. I just came back from my tour of duty in Iraq. Met her in Dallas.
This was in the Army, right?
This was when I was in the Army. Just finished my enlistment, everything. She went back to Colorado. She was like, I don't like Texas, which I respect anybody that doesn't like any state, whatever. I mean, they're going to go home. She went back to Colorado, Fort Collins, and I was like, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to try Colorado. I don't know anything about it.
So a big reason why you moved here was because of her?
100%.
Nice.
But on the flip side to that, I'm a nomad. I like to pack my shit up and just travel. Right. That's how I've always been. That's been my nature. I've been very independent at a very young age. I won't go into that. Love my family, but I ain't never going to throw my family under the bus because of what could be perceived as negative.
Right.
But my family, they love me, they raised me, but I've been independent at a very young age, so I did what I wanted to do. I've always been on my own to an extent. Followed my wife or my girl at the time, who I was interested in, followed her back to Fort Collins. I was like, here's the deal. I'll follow you. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. I'm in Colorado. I'll try out Colorado.
You're going to stay here.
Yeah. Came to Colorado. Thankfully, things worked out between her and I. and I stayed in Colorado.
Nice.
But I ain't gonna lie, I did not like Colorado.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So let me ask you this: you're a Texas native.
Yes.
You followed your love here.
Mm-hmm.
How? Let me ask you about the culture shock, if there is one, from coming from Texas to a state like this.
There's
what was it like?
Huge culture shock. And newsflash, there's a culture shock anywhere you go from wherever you're from to a different state. It is what it is. I got to Colorado, Fort Collins, and so my girl at the time, she was babysitting. She did that as a part-time job. And this is going to tell you my mindset of what I'm coming into. She's like, I'm going to take the kids that I'm babysitting. I'm going to take them to the park. I'm like, you're not taking those kids to the park. Do you know what happens at the park? It ain't kids playing. Like, you have all the wrong people at the park. You're talking about grown-ass thugs.
Yeah, but
and she was like,
referring back to Texas.
Yes. But I've been around numerous towns and cities, even outside of Texas.
Well, and parks typically in bigger cities can definitely be, just pockets of crime, right? Or drug peddling.
And even if it isn't crime, the average town life, for the most part, isn't Fort Collins.
Right.
It isn't. It isn't. So we get to Fort Collins, and I'm gonna speed this story up. When I got to Fort Collins, I thought I was in a fucking scene of Leave It to Beaver. I'm not making that up.
Yeah.
I go to the park. My wife's like, come to the park. Let me show you what it's
She was
like.
your girlfriend at the time, though, right?
I go to the park, and I'm looking at this park, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? There's families out there picnicking, throwing frisbee, hacky sack, which I didn't know what it was at the time. People
Playing
walking
catch.
on a fucking rope. Apparently that's a thing.
Oh, the slack rope.
Whatever the fuck that is.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like, why are they they're walking a rope?
Yeah.
Like,
I remember those.
this is how the American dream should be.
Right.
This is what towns and communities should strive for. So I get to Fort Collins. I'm like, what is this? And she goes, welcome to Fort Collins, Colorado. And I'm like, no wonder you motherfuckers don't want to leave.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to leave this because you don't get this everywhere. And when I say you don't get this everywhere, you can go
almost nowhere.
Which is literally almost nowhere. You have your few cities, because I'm older and I'm more experienced now, I can say this. You don't get that type of feeling of no crime-ish. Like, everybody's happy.
Yeah.
And I'm not used to everybody being fucking happy.
Right.
It's weird.
I could imagine. It's almost like a facade, right? If you came into that from probably a neighborhood and or upbringing that wasn't always the greatest, and you come to that and you see that type of upbringing and that lifestyle, and you're like, there's something wrong here.
Yeah.
But you're looking for a problem when there isn't one, right?
And you got to remember, I've been to Houston. I've been parts of West Texas. Went to college in West Texas for a year. I've been around the block. I was always traveling, living with other people when I was young. And not once have I experienced a town like Fort Collins. And even now, being in Colorado, I'm not trying to tote or boast Fort Collins. There's nothing like Fort Collins. Even if I'm in Windsor, Colorado, or Loveland, Colorado, or Greeley, Colorado, it ain't Fort Collins. Like, it's just not.
Yeah.
Now, we had a kid at a very young age. So I'm thinking,
all
as a
right,
parent.
so hold on. Let's slow this back down a little bit. You go to this park and you're having all this good time.
It's
You're
nuts,
seeing
dude.
this lady. You move to Colorado or you follow her here, and all of a sudden, oh, there you go. Here's your baby.
Yeah, we had a kid.
That's kind of how
It was planned. And I became a parent at a very young age. 2008 happened, 2009. The economy went to shit.
Yeah.
Like, it went to shit. Everybody knows why. If you don't know why, Google it. But yeah, man, I was hurting for a job. Like, I had a job, but I was like, there's no jobs out here. So
or you were working your ass off for not enough pay, right?
Both.
Physically, yeah.
Yes. And I'm used to physical work. I'm used to 60 plus, 70 plus hours a week work. And that's when I enlisted, re-enlisted.
Oh, you did?
Yep.
Oh, good for you.
Just because I was like, I can use that extra paycheck.
Right.
And long story short, that's how I wound up in Colorado.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, that's cool, man. And you have you've got 3 daughters now, right?
Yes, I have 3 girls.
Nice.
And let me tell you something. If you're young, you're a gentleman. Respect your women. Love them. Treat them right.
Well, they say that only real men can raise women.
Goddamn right.
Right?
Is you can only control what you can. It's as simple as this. Be a good person. If you have kids, raise them right. And everything's about respect.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Well, they say respect is earned and not given. I absolutely disagree with that.
Oh,
I feel
100%.
like if you give respect
You
to
better
initiate anything, you almost always receive it back. Right? And I'm talking about reciprocity of respect.
Yeah.
It can be used in some context of saying respect is earned and not given. It can be used in some context, right? Where your boss coming into a new job, to new employees, to people that you haven't proven yourself to, you have to earn that respect, right? But when you're encountering new people and you're encountering new things in your life, if you start out respectful and you say, and you stand high, you look people square in the eye, you shake them in the hand, and you say, I am me. Nice to meet you. People genuinely, automatically
100%.
receive that and give it back to you, right?
Respect is unfortunately, it is a dying characteristic.
It is.
Because before you can even give respect, you need to respect yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
You need to do what's right, do the things you're supposed to do, eat right, do whatever. You go to school, fucking go to school, give your effort. Just the little things when you're young.
Absolutely.
Self-respect, you need to have that.
Yeah.
But yeah, respect is, to me, in my opinion, is a dying characteristic. Not enough parents fucking initiate that shit with their kids.
Yeah.
Probably because they weren't taught that themselves.
Or they forget about it.
Or they forget about it. Yeah. They get lost in their own fucking world. And it's like, but, it's as simple as this. Do what you're supposed to do. Be a good person. And
so anyway, talking about respect, that's fine. But you know what helped me out a lot with that, though, and I think a lot of people should be more interested in, is sports. Right?
Ooh, let me tell you something. If we get on the topic of sports, you're going to have to shut me the fuck up.
Well, I'm going to let you run with it. But here's my point, though, is I played sports my entire life and still do, right? Obviously, now I'm into beer leagues and stuff because of being
we're older.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're not professional.
Of course not.
We're the average Joes.
Right. We are the average Joes.
And let me tell you, there's a bunch of us out there, and we fucking love it, and we don't care.
But we
I can't wait for this topic.
Yeah, I mean, we do these things, right? But a big thing that helps out, that I think a lot of younger generations need to be a part of it, is sports. Right?
Let me tell you something about these younger generations. These fucking kids don't get outside enough to. They're good at sports because they're young. They're athletic.
Well, it's the whole genetic code of passing down dominant traits, right?
I don't even agree with that.
Well, no, but
I think what it comes down to is 10 years ago, kids would go outside and play sports
all day, every day.
All day, every day.
Yeah.
And even if you're not playing a sport,
we're old enough to be those types of kids.
Well,
right?
I think we're the last generation.
Yeah, well, because video games started coming in.
Oh my God, dude.
Which I love. When we were, but also at the time, a lot of people couldn't afford that. Right?
Let me tell you something about that.
Hold on. Before we get into that, I think it's time for a round.
Yes, please. Because I cannot wait to talk about sports and what we're about to talk about as far as your opinion, my opinion on.
All right.
Because video games is not an excuse.
No, it's not an excuse.
And I'll tell you why.
Let's hear it, baby.
All right. I have heard, cheers, brother. I have heard the story of video games are taken away from the kids, or electronics, or whatever. And there's other things like people are more aware of crime, and nobody wants. And I'm one of those now. Like, I don't want you outside too long because I don't need anybody fucking kidnapping you. Right?
Right.
There's a lot of multiple factors. But even if we had the video games that we have now, and I'll tell you this from personal experience, we can have the same electronics, same game systems, consoles, smartphones, but I will say this. You put that in our era, my mom or my dad would still be like, get your ass outside.
Yeah.
And go play something. Just get outside.
Yeah.
That's the difference. Doesn't matter what you have. That's my opinion. Doesn't matter what you have, because I do that with my kids. Get your ass outside. Go play something.
Go ride a bike.
Here's
Get
the
out
deal.
of here.
If I'm going to worry about people kidnapping you, not a problem. My ass is going to be out there with you.
Yeah.
All the shit that we have now, I guarantee you I'd still be outside with my friends. Guarantee you.
Yeah. I mean, that does, that's kind of a loaded topic, right? Because
it's not.
But you and I believe that to be true, right? We say it doesn't matter. We can have VR headsets that we would have been able to open on Christmas when we were 10 years old. But I remember, I remember being 10 years old, getting a new bike for Christmas and riding it in December in Colorado with snow-filled fucking streets. It's still riding bikes, but
right?
outside in fucking 10-degree weather.
But it's not even like I grew up in a time where Atari just came out. Like
that's kind of what I'm saying.
There was new systems, but we were still outside.
That's kind of what I'm saying, though, is that like it's easy to say that like we were told we have to be outside, and we would be outside, and you can give us the same technology back then that we have right now, and our parents would still tell us the same thing, and that might be true. That might be true. And here's the thing.
Yeah, you're right.
That is also probably the reason as to why parents need to enforce that. But I think that technology, since we've come up, right, has just enabled parents to be able to hit the coast button a lot easier. You know what I mean?
100%.
By saying, I don't need my kid to go out and ride his bike for an hour or two to give me a break. I can just put this iPad in front of them.
We're just more afraid. I think we are, because I'm one of those parents.
Well, but yes, and I agree with that. I think safety culture as a whole is detrimental. I will say that. I think safety culture as a whole is detrimental, and I think it's a big problem as to why kids aren't outside playing and why parents don't want that to happen in the first place.
Right.
And I don't, Mike Rowe is a big guy that I like. You know Mike Rowe from Dirty Jobs?
Yep.
He's got
Love that guy.
He's great, right? He's great.
Can I tell a little side story from watching Dirty Jobs?
Go ahead.
There was an episode that I watched, and a dude wasn't putting in his weight, and brain fart. Mike Rowe told him, was like, "You better put a shovel in your hand." This is his words. He goes, "You better put a shovel in your hand. I'd hate for you to be the one to get criticized for not putting in work." And he was serious. And this was on his show.
Right.
And the guy was like,
aired.
"Oh." Because he works.
Right.
It was like, no. We're doing this. You still need to do what you got to do. But those are the subtleties. He was being respectful. He didn't want to call the guy out.
Right.
But that was like a nice way of saying.
Yeah, he gave him a heads up like, hey.
It was a nice way of saying, look, you're on my show. We all working.
Right.
Don't think you can.
Right. Just because there's a camera here doesn't make you exempt from work.
Yes. That's when I saw that clip, which I already liked his show to begin with.
Right.
But when he called him out on his show, subtly and respectfully, I was like, yeah.
Well,
he put his ass to work.
And that's kind of my point, though, is that Mike Rowe is a big proponent of not canceling safety culture, but being against it as far as like it can be detrimental. It can be detrimental.
Yeah, you
for
can't
sure.
let it take over. You can't have it take over your.
You can't, right? You can't allow fear and the things that you perceive that are terrible to run your life and your children's lives, right? You cannot live with the fear of being like, I don't want my kid riding a bike because he can just fall over and break his arm.
Yeah.
And people that have that type of fear, it's been socially integrated into them from their childhood coming up in everyday life, right? Jobs, advertisements.
It's a culture thing.
Daily life, right? Culture, saying that that's detrimental, that you can hurt yourself from it, and they don't want that to happen to their kids, that's fine. But at the same time, you have to allow your children and or yourself to be exposed to danger to a certain extent.
But you're not going to teach an old dog new tricks. So I know a lot of parents like that, right?
Right.
And I also know about those specific parents. They, for example, never played a sport in their life, or did for like a brief moment.
Didn't work out for them.
They weren't the extrovert / outdoorsy, play games, but so you can't hold that against them. They just weren't.
No, and that's the other thing.
Yeah.
I don't make this personal about anyone, right? It's not about anyone specifically. I would never say this because of this person, and I have a vendetta against this person. But Mike Rowe has a saying, and his most famous saying is "safety third."
I like that.
I'm dead serious. That's his catchphrase, and I think it's fantastic. You want to know why? Because safety shouldn't be first. It shouldn't. Safety should not be first. Experience should be first, right?
And the only way you can experience something is by doing it.
Right. Now, I'm not
be careless.
I'm not advocating for people to just do crazy shit,
right,
with no repercussions and no reaction to what you do. Obviously, that's insane. I would never preach for that. But my point is, and I think what Mike Rowe's trying to say is that you have to be able to take the fucking seatbelt off and say, I'm okay. I'm okay if, I get a bruise. I'm okay if I get scruffed up a little bit. And, myself, I have broken several bones in my body as a kid doing crazy things. A lot of other kids in our generation have done the same thing, and some kids have been permanently scarred and or deformed from it. Right? But I can guarantee you that each one of those experiences I've had have absolutely built me up to the person I am, and I will, even the shortcomings I have now to this day from those injuries, I would never trade it in for the world.
Right.
Never trade it in for the world. You want to know why? Because that has made me who I am.
Yeah.
And I think it makes stronger people. I'm not saying that people should do crazy shit on purpose and they should break their arms on purpose. I'm just saying make safety not the first priority, because you're limiting your life as a whole if you do that.
But that
if
goes,
you did safety first for everything, you're just going to live in a bubble.
But that goes back to the old adage of just kids playing outside naturally. So, like, yeah. In elementary, I used to jump off homes, like rooftops. And I look back, even now, man, I had a conversation with a buddy a year ago. It was a while back. But I do remember we had this conversation, like, dude, you remember we used to jump off, like, rooftops back in our hometown? If we were to jump off a fucking roof, a roof, like, I'm talking about a single story.
Yeah.
Like, if we were to do that now, we would probably break our fucking ankle. But we used to just, like, we would play tag. We'd get on the roof without a ladder. I don't know how.
Right.
Jump off the roof and, like, tuck and roll.
Yeah.
Continue running. It's just the experience of being adventurous. Now,
I think testing the limits of what you can do as a person, right? Everyone, right? I think if you can test the limits of what you can do, people really start to know themselves, right? They start to know themselves. They start to experience themselves, and they say, oh, I jumped off a roof and I didn't break my ankle. I wonder how fast I can do it next time, how fast I can get on the roof and jump down it.
But you know what's funny, though, about safety? Again, it comes down to culture and timelines, and everything changes. Everything. Take professional sports, for example. You and I have talked about this. Football, professional football. Remember back in the day where their pads were huge, thick as fuck? Dude, they were wearing pads thicker than college football.
Oh, yeah.
Still ran the speeds that they ran because they had to work out harder.
Yeah.
Bigger muscles. Because here's the deal. If I got these big ass pads on.
Well, you also have to take into consideration the fact at that point there was not a lot of like steroid screening at that point, so people were juicing their balls off.
Let me tell you something. The motherfuckers are juicing right now.
Well, they might be. They might be now, but they figured
They're just trying to get an edge. So therefore, edge of like, okay, if I have, for example, these shoulder pads down to one layer padding, no knee pads, no thigh. Like I'm trying to gain the extra advantage of running a step faster.
But my point is
that's
that
my opinion.
If we're referring back to the time in the NFL that you're talking about, where players' pads were big, they were still running at speeds they're running at now.
They were
right, and here's my point: steroid screening wasn't as big as it was then, right?
No, you're right.
And so there's, I'm sure, a ton of guys on the juice getting absolutely freakishly strong, being freakishly fast, knocking people's heads off, right? And not only were the rules allowing that type of thing to happen, not only was the steroid screening less, but their pads were significantly bigger.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that that's the sole reason why injuries were lower.
Right.
It could also be attributed to the fact that people were just genuinely tougher and they just fucking played through injury anyway. That's besides the point. But we've talked about this, right? We've talked about how back in the day, pads were huge.
Yes.
And big dudes got big pads on so they can make big hits, big plays.
So now everything's more about speed now, right?
That seems to be what everything is centered.
You're not as heavy set. You're lighter on your toes, lighter pads. And I know this. Athletes nowadays are bigger, stronger, and faster. Well, so I get that.
I think a lot of it's focused on efficiency, right? If you're a 320-pound lineman that can still run a 4.3 40, not a 4.3, a 4.7 40, that's insane.
Dude, what linemen run nowadays?
That's insane, right? That's fucking crazy.
Dude, linemen run like 4.9s.
That's what I mean.
That's
what I mean. If you're 320 pounds, you can run a 4.8 40. That's fucking crazy. So if your efficiency is you're that big, you can move that fast. Yeah. We're going to put you in the smallest pads possible for you to squeeze by anyone because you don't want to give the offensive lineman the advantage to grab your shoulder pads. You're padding in your equipment to stop you. You want to give that player every advantage to be able to make moves. The uppercuts, everything, right? But back in the day, it was all about, I need to get through you, and I'm going to just pancake you, or I got to tackle you, and I have to throw my entire body weight into you, and I don't got to worry about it as much because my pads are 4 feet thick, and not a tiny little shoulder covering and a big helmet.
It's just crazy how sports are evolving to more of that safety aspect, which I'm all about safety for professional athletes.
See, here's where I disagree.
I'm about safety, but I want to hear what you have to say. But
okay,
all right. So if I'm NFL commish, I'm gonna have set standard pads. Like everybody's gonna have thick ass pads. I don't know the statistics or the scientific data of does that prevent head injuries. I don't know, but here I will use common sense. I guarantee you, more thicker pads like they had worn back in the day is more beneficial than what they're having now. I will put my fucking small life savings on it because that is just common sense.
Right. Bigger pads, better protection.
It's just common sense.
Yeah.
It's the difference between an up armor vehicle versus a soft shell vehicle.
Right.
It's just common sense.
Right.
Now, I do realize some athletes like trying to gain the edge, the advantage, be quicker. Just make them wear big fucking pads. Like,
yeah. And that's the thing too, right? It's like, even if that, okay.
They don't even wear big pads anymore in college.
Right. So
what they're advocating is athletes, professional athletes, and I don't blame them. That is a $1 billion industry. And if you were to put it, like instead of looking at the trees, you look at the forest. They are making professional athletes. Again, just for credibility here, I ain't talking about like a race or professional athletes across the board.
Right.
They, especially in the NFL, they are not making enough. I know this can sound crazy. They're not making enough to what these NFL owners or teams are making. Those teams are making billions of dollars. They are. Those players know they're putting their body on the line. They want what they should be receiving because they should be making more. Now, on the flip side to that, so now I'm going to play devil's advocate with them. It's like they are right about that. They should be making more because they're not making enough to what those companies are making, like NFL teams. Therefore, so that's that. But the safety aspect of it is like, where are those big ass because if I'm an owner of an NFL team, I'm gonna pay you what you're worth. I'm gonna give you. You're gonna get money.
You're gonna get paid according to your talent, right?
I need you to wear protective equipment. I want you to be safe. I need you to wear these big ass pads. And here's the deal. Oh, does it slow you down that much? Well, then maybe I won't have you on my team.
Right, and that's kind of the point, right?
Like if you're not that good enough, try out for my team with these big ass pads. If you ain't as fast as I think you are,
right. If you're that good and you're getting compensated for being that good, a little bit bigger pads, and a little bit more.
But they're willing to see. That's just it. That's the fine line. They're willing to take that risk though. Players are willing to take that risk. I want to wear less pads so I can gain the advantage.
Well, there's also
there's a lot of that goes on into this. And I don't want to dive too much into this,
but I think that going on the subject of just the NFL in general,
because we don't really know. Like,
no, we don't know.
We don't.
We're not NFL players.
We're just average Joes.
We are average Joes, and the thing is too is that I think that kids that get drafted have too much power. And
they used to have a lot of power, but
no, I think they still do, right? And you can even boil it down to guys going into training camps, right? Mm-hmm. When a coach tries to criticize a first round draft pick, it typically doesn't happen. And if it does happen, the draft pick person that I'm speaking of typically is like, I don't give a shit what you say. You want to know why? Because I'm already getting paid. Your GM, your president, your head coach has already invested this much stock into me. You can say whatever you want to me. It doesn't matter. I'm going to do whatever.
Well, you better be a damn good player if you feel that way.
Well, how could you not?
Oh, because a lot of those players aren't that good. They're good enough to play in the NFL, but they're not good enough to be.
But let me put it to you this way. Trevor Lawrence comes in and gets drafted number 1 overall to Jacksonville, right? Okay, and he goes into the Jacksonville training camp, and he starts throwing passes. He starts doing the things that he knows he's already good at, his familiar, routine of what he's been successful with in his college career, and he's doing it with the Jacksonville training camp. Now, when the head coach comes into you and says, hey, that quick slant was terrible. I need you to lead him more. Do you think that he's going to be like, yeah, sorry about that. I'll improve.
If he's a rookie, yeah, he will be.
No. Or do you think that if he knows that he's a number 1 draft pick, do you think he's going to be like, yeah, okay, and brush it off and do whatever the fuck he wants?
I don't. My opinion is I don't think he'll be like that, because if he wants the respect of his fucking teammates, he will do what is asked of him. Because let me tell you, if I'm an experienced offensive lineman or anybody, an experienced teammate that has been in the league for however many years, and I hear this fucking young ass punk quarterback, or regardless of what position, trying to give their input,
Willie Beeman,
I'm gonna be like, son, you're fucking in diapers in this league. Just listen.
Right. Okay.
Listen.
But you're thinking of it from a player's perspective.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of it as a first-round draft pick's perspective.
But
obviously, being from Texas, you played football a lot, right?
I did.
Right.
And I wasn't very good.
Yeah, same.
I was a good athlete. I'll be honest with you.
Okay.
I choked. I choked in football, especially in high school football.
Let's bring it down and ground it out to people that can relate a little bit more, especially the middle-class people or even young adults that have never really made it big in any sport, which is a lot of people.
But I can tell you about Texas high school football. That's not a fucking rumor.
Well, I bet it's not. But
that's just traumatizing.
Well, as I alluded to earlier in the podcast, though, you and I still both play sports as adults, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that it is important for adults to genuinely have that recreational type experience, right? You know, our father's age was bowling leagues or stuff like that, to where I don't mean that our dads played this.
No, I know. But it's funny you say that because like my dad and a lot of my uncles, like they play softball, infield for that matter, because that's how good they were. They played in their fucking late 40s.
Okay, so softball is another
and I'm
one,
not
right?
talking about like your old man leagues.
I think softball is
They were
a big
badass
one
athletes.
I think softball is a big sport that a lot of people flock to, especially people that have always had athletic ability, but never really got far with it, right? Because of whatever insert reason, right? It
How
could
come
be
you
any
don't play
reason.
softball anymore?
Just work schedule. That's it.
No,
That's it.
because we could use you.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, we've played softball together before. I would do it again. But we play flag football together, right?
Dude. God. So,
We play flag football together. What's the problem here? Wait, you don't want to talk about that?
no, we can talk about that because let me tell you something. My favorite sport to play
Is football.
is football.
Yeah.
All right. Wasn't the greatest in high school. But goddamn, I know how to play football.
I was never big enough.
Yeah, regardless of school sports.
Yeah.
I can play some fucking football. I can play some fucking football. Man, I can play. Dude, when was it? 2 years ago when we played flag?
No, that was last year. That was literally last year. Oh, I shouldn't say that.
I shouldn't be
because 2020. It was
you were great.
2019. 2019 was the last time we played.
You're great. You have the speed, you have the height, you know what you're doing, you're on offense. But when you have somebody my age, better than young guys, that shouldn't be the case. My intentions of playing flag football was I'm old as fuck for flag, like I can play. I want to come in, I want to be a sub, do a couple plays here and there, give you guys a break. These fucking young ass kids do not know how to play fucking football / flag football.
Well,
They do not. You're excluded from that conversation.
no, I get that, but I think you have to. That's a loaded subject, right?
That is not a little.
No, it is.
Those motherfuckers are sorry.
I know.
They are. You have 35-plus-year-old men out there playing defense because people don't know how to read coverages. I'm like, this is flag football.
Right, but here's my point, though, is that that's a loaded subject because
They're fucking sorry.
it-
Them boys are sorry.
Yeah, but it's subjective to every person and team that plays, though, right? You're talking about guys that never played football in their life.
Sorry ass quarterback.
You're talking about guys that never played sports but are invited in it finally, and they say, "Yeah, I'll do it."
Dude, when we have a quarterback on our team that's like, I just want to spread the ball out. I want to be. No, that's not how that works.
Okay,
You throw to your number ones and your number twos.
but you're interjecting our team's
I know, I'm sorry.
deficits. Okay, if you take it back to the team concept,
Those motherfuckers don't know how to play.
if you take it back to the team concept, there's guys that got invited to play that have never played football.
Yeah, you're right.
Not only did they never play football, there's other guys that also never really been involved with team sports in the first place. And there's other guys in there that thought they were good at football and maybe played whatever level they did and realized that they were still trash, even though they're older and out of high school or whatever level they played at. So I think a lot of flag football teams across America is kind of built of that same type of, mix. Right?
No.
But at the same time, can you improve it? Yeah. Can you find better players? Yes.
I love
Now-
Colorado.
Now, speaking of
Y'all don't have football athletes.
speaking of sports, talking about passions for sports.
Do you
Right.
like hockey?
Oh, I love hockey. I'm a big hockey guy.
How good are you in hockey?
Well,
You're good.
I would like to say at one point I was decent at it. Right? I
You're
was
being
definitely-
humble.
Well, I definitely was good at it. And my brother was good at it too. He was very good.
I did not know that.
My brother was a good hockey player. He
played
was.
hockey?
He still is. Like he and I still got it. I mean, it's kind of like riding a bike. We go into beer leagues and
It's just like me playing flag
yeah, same
and
thing.
being like the second best player on the team, even though I'm like the oldest.
Yeah, something like that.
No, it's fucking exactly like that.
But anyway, I come from a big hockey family. Like it just started one day, and but hockey's my thing, right? So I played hockey growing up. I wrestled growing up. I played football growing up. I ran track on off season just to have a sport.
You fucking ran track?
I did run track. Yeah, absolutely, I did.
Shit.
Yeah, I ran track all the way through my junior year.
I did not know that about you.
Yeah, I ran track all the way through junior year in high school.
I went to college on track.
I knew that. So speaking of passionate sports, you played football.
Mm-hmm.
You ran track.
Mm-hmm.
Did you play baseball?
I played baseball. I couldn't hit, but I played baseball.
That was the one sport I never got into or never played. And and it's not because I never wanted to. It's just, I think I played 4 sports, right? Hockey,
we played
football, wrestling, track. I never had time to play baseball.
Well, that's what happens when you're an athlete. You dabble into whatever you can according to what timeline you can that suits you.
Or you're good enough at those sports to maintain a steadiness to excel at the sport you're best at.
Because I did powerlifting, believe it or not, ran track, played football, did cross country.
Really?
But they were all like, but that's school.
Right.
And then for summer, it was like dedicated summer track.
Right.
But that's not even including like extracurricular activities like play basketball with my friends like all the time.
We're talking about passionate sports.
Yes.
We're talking about playing football in the streets. I did that growing up. I did that with my brother growing up. My brother did that with my cousins. I did that with my cousins, all that. So my brother is 6 years older than me, right? And I remember
My brothers too.
the second Super Bowl that the Broncos were in. I believe it was the one where John Elway did the infamous helicopter tackle, right?
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Against Green Bay, right?
Yes. Goes in, he runs in for the end zone.
Yeah.
And
he
he
got the
gets
first
fucking
down. Yeah, but the whole goal was to get the first down, which was what he got, which was the whole thing. But it was famous because of how the tackle ended, right?
And he was near the tail end of his career.
Yes.
Put his
That
body
was
on the
right
line.
when he retired.
Now, I will say this, and I want to say it just like this. He put his fucking body on the line because he knew what it meant.
Fuck safety, right? Safety third.
Safety third.
That's right, baby.
That's what it is.
Safety
Willie
third.
Beeman.
Anyway, so
That's man shit right there, though.
it is man shit. But
Dude, it's like, we got to get this TD or first, and I will fucking break whatever bone in my body.
yeah. Dennis Quaid in the movie.
I want your biggest
Any
linebacker
given
to
Sunday.
I want your biggest linebacker to hit me because no matter what, when I land as I'm spinning,
It's a first down.
it's a goddamn first down.
So anyway,
This man shit.
that Super Bowl, me, my brother, and all my cousins were out playing football in the streets. Literally, right?
That's gone away too.
I know.
Would
The
you
cool thing is
not
that
trying
right
to
now,
get not trying to get off subject. And it doesn't matter what team or state you live in. Back in the day when we watched our teams, when it's in the playoffs or Super Bowl, whatever,
everyone played football.
when it's
Backyard stream.
commercial or halftime, we go fucking play football.
Yeah.
We toss the ball, play a little quick game,
Oh yeah.
go back in, watch the game.
Yep.
You don't see
Absolutely. No, you don't. And the thing is, so the story goes, during that Super Bowl party that my family threw, my Uncle David threw it. He's passed away now, but all my cousins and my aunt are still alive. But back in the day, John Elway's second Super Bowl, football was strong in our family. We're all playing football in the street. We're tossing it around. We have our, to the bumper, this car's the touchdown.
I
to
got
that
it.
bumper.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Dude.
Right, or to the edge of the driveway is that touchdown, right?
Or the mailboxes or whatever.
Right. Using whatever delineation for the end zone. My brother, being a 15-year-old kid playing competitively in the family, laid out for a pass, right? Laid out caught it and rolled, stood back up, and he looked at his elbow and he was bleeding everywhere. And he looked at it and you could see his elbow bone. Ooh. Ooh. Everyone's freaking, right? Because, like, amazing catch, amazing throw. Everyone's like, oh, my God. My brother gets up and he's like, yeah. Oh. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, holy crap. And he runs inside to my uncle's house, and all the moms are in there and the aunts and uncles, and they're like, what the fuck? Why are you guys screaming? And my brother's like, you can see my elbow bone. Like, that's how it was. And everyone was like, holy crap. And he was like, ah. And then they put Band-Aids on it, and everyone just kept watching the Super Bowl.
You goddamn right.
Right?
That's the families we grew up in.
Exactly. My family smoked like chimneys. So that house we were watching the Super Bowl party in was so thick with smoke, bro. So thick with smoke. You walked in there, you could barely see the fucking TV.
Our family is so big on sports.
Yeah.
God, like, we bleed sports.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
right, and that the example of my brother with his elbow was just a small example of just football.
But that was the beauty of it.
You can go into hockey and track, football.
You go outside, toss that fucking pigskin.
You go for a pass. Go past the Cadillac. Mama rings the dinner bell.
No, you're playing a fucking quick.
Fire that fucking pigskin.
You're playing a quick game.
Yeah.
A competitive game.
Yeah, you are.
And yeah, you go back inside. You stink like outside. Nobody gives a fuck. You're a kid.
You're sweaty.
You get another.
You got the jersey on of the player you love.
You get another.
Right? So let me guess. You had an Emmitt Smith jersey, right?
You go back inside. You get a fucking big ass plate. Get ready for the second half.
KFC.
And you can smell the beer from your family because they're all fucking screaming.
The smoke, dude. The smoke. Cigs inside, bro.
We were fucking.
This is the good days,
the glory
right?
days. Oh, I miss the 90s.
Hey, so after the fucking Broncos won their back-to-back Super Bowls, right?
Yeah,
I've been a Broncos fan.
And Elway's helicopter spin.
Yeah.
You going out in the yard throwing pigskin.
Yeah. But like I've been a Broncos fan my whole life, right? And
as you should be. I love loyalty.
Now to segue this, when Peyton Manning got brought to Denver, there was a lot of bandwagon fans, right?
Yes.
Lots of bandwagon fans because of Peyton Manning. Which
let's put a caveat on that. Those bandwagon fans, a lot of them were Bronco fans.
Well, a lot of them were just Indianapolis Colts fans that were loyal to Peyton Manning.
That too. But there's some Bronco fans that didn't like that.
No, I actually, I'll be honest with you, I didn't like it.
I know
you want to know why? You want to know why? I was a Tebow guy.
I was a Tebow guy.
Now
I
wanted to keep Tebow under Peyton.
Let me clarify. When I say
you're a Tebow guy,
I support the state. Unless they're playing against my teams, I support my states that I reside in, the local all the way up to the professional level, as long as they're not playing against my teams. Now, going to Tebow, he was winning for you. Now, being a true sports fan, I knew he wasn't cut out to be a long-term, good, stable quarterback.
Right, and that's kind of what I was thinking. But what I was hoping for when Peyton Manning got brought to Denver, I was hoping that Tim Tebow could literally be second string under him to learn.
Yeah, and they should have done that. But they didn't.
They didn't.
But Tebow wouldn't have accepted that role anyway.
But I think he might have. I think if the right people pitched him to it the right way, he would have been accepting. Because here's the thing about Tebow. I don't think that he was so egotistical to just say.
No, he was not.
I don't think he was so egotistical to say that, like, I will not take a step down to Peyton Manning. Do you think that he would think that? Or do you think that the Broncos management said, hey, Tim, you won that playoffs game against the Steelers and you know how to win. You're a champion. But we're bringing Peyton Manning in. We're going to have him start with us. And what we're going to do, we just need you to shadow him. And he's going to teach you. And all you need to do is be under his wing the whole time he's in Denver. And you're going to come back out the starter from that.
I think Tebow may have opted for that if the transparency was there. Meaning the ownership, i.e. John Elway, was like, we're going to keep you. We like you. We're bringing in Peyton Manning. I don't have to sell you on what that means for our football program.
Right.
You should be smart enough to know we're bringing in Peyton Manning.
PFM, dude.
Yeah. Tebow would be like, yeah. Now, if you're bringing in a different quarterback that's not Peyton Manning,
yeah,
Tebow wouldn't like that.
Well, right? He's competitive. Right?
Now, I think if they were transparent, they're like, sit back, sit tight. We're going to bring in Peyton Manning.
You're going to be second string. Just learn from him.
Yeah.
And
I think Tebow would have bought off on that.
They could have even done, I don't mean to fucking detract from the story here, but they could have done a Taysom Hill thing that they did with Drew Brees. I know it's not.
John Elway never liked Tim Tebow.
No, because he wasn't the traditional pocket quarterback.
Because during that playoff game when they beat the Steelers, there was a video clip of John Elway. Tim Tebow threw a touchdown pass.
To Demaryius Thomas.
And John Elway was like, they put the camera on him, and you can YouTube this. John Elway was like he was shaking his head no, because he knew this is going to be a lot harder to tell him, I don't want you.
Yeah.
Because you're winning the game.
Yeah.
Like, I remember that. I remember watching that game.
No, and I talked about this on one of my other
Elway
podcasts.
was laughing, like shaking his head. Like, I cannot believe this is happening.
I think that made everything so much more difficult for the front office of the Broncos. Now,
Elway knew he was going to get rid of him the moment.
A while ago, yeah.
Yes. Love Bronco fans. We're just as fucking nutty. God, let me tell you how hard. Let me tell you how hard it is being a Cowboys fan. But it's not really hard.
I bet it's hard.
It's not hard.
I bet it's
because that's
hard.
how loony and crazy and loyal we are. But we don't even put that on ourselves. The media makes us worse than what we are. What we are is we're loyal. We are a loyal fan base. We know when we talk about we're going to win the Super Bowl next year, we're going to win this, we're just talking shit. We know what we have as a team.
Well, I mean, you're being optimistic all the time, right?
We are a loyal fan base.
Yeah. You're saying this is what we expect of our team.
Yes.
Yeah.
What I love about the media is when they use their platform to talk shit about the Cowboys, the only reason they are doing that is because it's giving them views. Because they know the fan base of the Cowboys is gigantic.
Yeah.
So the moment you start, here's the deal. This, hypothetically speaking, I don't know the actual statistical data, but when you have, for example, again, I'm just throwing a number out there, 3 million people that are Cowboys fans, you know that's a huge number. Now, if you're going to oppose Cowboys and talk about them, those 3 million fans are going to
watch it, listen to it,
hone in on you.
Yeah.
You're going to get that. Those sports commentators like Stephen A. Smith and all anybody that talks shit about the Cowboys, they're getting the views.
I thought Stephen A. Smith was a fan of the Cowboys.
You know what? Secretly he is, but he has this excuse of his ex-girlfriend being a Cowboys fan.
But didn't he have a viral clip where he came out with that cowboy hat on and everyone was like, hyping him up because he was wearing a cowboy hat?
When he puts the shit on, it's because he's making fun of the Cowboys.
Oh,
or he loses a bet.
Is it satire?
Oh, 100%.
Oh, okay.
He's marketing himself off the
Cowboys name. The Cowboys name.
Losing Cowboys name. Because we don't win anymore. Let me tell you something. It is rough. Because when you're the number one fan, and this is a fact, when you are the number one, we're like Liverpool or
Manchester
for football. Now, being a fan, everybody knows the opposite of a fan. Cowboys suck. They're always going to suck. Why are they always in the media? Why are they still labeled America's team? You know why. Even you know why. We still have the most selling merchandise. We still have the biggest fan base. You know why, or else you wouldn't be saying anything. So that's that. Now, being a fan of the Cowboys, we have a burden because even when we go to our work, if they're not talking about their team, what other team are they talking about?
The Packers.
No, we're not going to fucking talk about the Packers on this podcast.
The Broncos.
No. If it's not your team, you're baiting me. If it's not your team that you're talking about, you're always going to talk. What's the go-to? You're going to talk shit about Cowboys.
Yeah.
And that's life in America. So being a Cowboys fan.
Well, it's a mantle, right? You're put on a pedestal of America's team, right? And if you don't own up to that title, or if you're not performing to that title, you get criticized for it.
If you're a baseball fan, you're not a Yankees fan, you're always going to talk shit about the Yankees.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, how much you hate the Yankees, Red Sox fans.
If you're a basketball fan, you're not a Lakers fan, you're going to talk shit about the Lakers. Even when they're winning or losing.
Right. They are only winning because of X, Y, Z.
And if they're losing, you're going to throw in a comment of there, as long as the Lakers are losing.
Yeah.
Right? As long as the Yankees are losing. Put yourself in the shoes of a Cowboys fan. To have to hear that constantly.
Well, like I said,
it never ends.
Like I said, I think the Cowboys are put on a pedestal to a certain extent, right? They're America's team.
We are America's team. Only because we have the biggest fan base.
Right, but I mean, what encapsulates America more than Texas and Cowboys? You know what I mean? The American spirit as a whole, that's it.
Yeah.
Right? So you're America's team. So that's a big pedestal to be on. That's a big spotlight to always be in.
It's a limelight.
Right, yeah.
It's not always good.
And there's a lot of pressure. And if you're bad, you're bad, and people fucking hammer you for it. And when you're good, people still hate you for being good.
Yep.
And the loyal fans are like, we fucking told you so.
And I'm glad you said that. Because what people don't realize is as soon as we're good, because it will happen one day.
Oh,
I don't know if it's going to happen in my time life.
It'll come back, yeah.
The moment we go to the Super Bowl or win a playoff game or two, y'all are just giving us ammo.
Yeah, for sure.
In your fucking face, we are back.
Okay, so those teams that are on the high end, that are always in contention, no matter how bad they are, no matter the talent on their team, they're always a top tier team.
Right.
Tier 1 teams. Now, tier 1 teams to me are a lot of the original football teams before the franchise happened, right? Before the Super Bowl, before the Lombardi Trophy, or like when it started, when they initially split it up.
You're solid teams, right? With tradition and history.
Right. You've got the Dallas Cowboys.
Yep.
You've got the Packers.
Yep.
The Bears, yes. Yeah. The Bears. Who else? I mean, you can really even throw in, the top tier teams, Denver's in there.
Denver is in there.
They're in there.
Because they have that Elway period.
They've won 3 Super Bowls, 2 back-to-back, right?
And actually, you can probably throw the Giants in there. And I'm not talking about the newly Super Bowls with Eli,
right.
But just...
No, you're right. And then you throw the Giants in there.
Pittsburgh's definitely in there.
Pittsburgh, for sure.
New England, because even though Brady's still playing... he fucking put them on the map.
Absolutely. You want to talk about a dynasty?
That's a dynasty.
Yeah. Those are the big teams. Those are the big teams.
Because if you have to think about it, then nobody else is really...
Well, but coming into the new future, right? You've got Baltimore.
Yeah, ish.
You've got Kansas City.
Mahomes is about to put... He's already put them on the map.
Right. You've got Kansas City coming up in that. 2-3 years ago, you had J.J. Watt when he was in his prime, just smacking fools around.
Now, he was more of a bigger name than the Houston Texans themselves.
Right.
Because we all looked at... Even when we turn on a game...
J.J. Watt.
First thing we said was like, when you look at a football game on TV and you're like, the only person that stands out because they are just bigger than everybody. Like
J.J. Watt.
Bigger than the offensive lineman. Like, look at that guy just dominating a game. He's fucking gigantic.
Well, Detroit had that in Ndamukong Suh, right? He played with Detroit when he was at his prime.
He was another one. Look how huge he is.
Vince Wilfork when he played with New England.
Moving people like they're little boys.
Yeah, because they're just, they're enormously sized men handling grown men at speeds that we can't even comprehend.
Moving professional athletes like little boys.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing.
That's wild.
They are literally like
Well, and then you go to Carolina, you look at Luke Kuechly, right?
He's another bad motherfucker.
He's a bad fucker. Great linebacker. I mean, he's retired now, right? Because of his brain injuries, but that's
because he fucking hit everybody hard.
right, exactly. And that's what he got paid to do. And that's going back to
the safety thing.
Exactly.
He put his body on the line.
Absolutely. Guess what? He played every play, every down, every game.
But you got to also remember too, though, not everybody's as smart as him on the field. He
had natural athletic ability and instincts.
Now, if he had a good surrounding cast where he wasn't always making the first tackle, would have probably prolonged his career.
Not only that, but I mean, he did have it at one point when they played the Broncos in Super Bowl 50. Do you remember that?
Oh, absolutely.
That was when Carolina was at their peak, right? And all it took...
And Cam Newton got humbled.
All it took was one play to ruin their entire morale, to ruin their entire gameplay, to ruin their entire mindset. One play. Strip sack and Von Miller. Over.
That's the game.
Cam Newton has not been the same since.
No, he has not. That is the game that literally made Cam Newton rethink his life decisions.
It absolutely has been. And you can see it to this day.
He was getting hit and thrown around and pressured.
And he hadn't had that happen to him. He hadn't had that happen to him the whole season leading up to that point.
I think he won't admit it. He's fucking traumatized.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right. And that's what I'm saying. That changed everything. Not only did it just change the Panthers game during that game, but it changed Cam Newton forever.
So you had Von Miller on one end and my boy, who I love, and I'm glad he won the Super Bowl, DeMarcus Ware.
Oh, yeah. Former Dallas Cowboy.
And he wasn't even young.
No, he was old at that point. He was like a Peyton Manning. He came in at the tail end of his career.
But he was still only because of Von Miller. Vaughn got the double team. You can only double team one or the other.
Right.
Obviously, they're going to double team the younger.
But think about that. I mean, think about that. Though. You have to hold back DeMarcus Ware and Von Miller. I mean, come on, man.
Dude.
That's scary. That's scary.
Okay. Literally imagine this. Even if you're the best quarterback in the league.
He's one of those guys we're talking about that was bigger than everybody else, man.
You're behind the center. You look to your right. You see Von Miller. You look to your left. You see DeMarcus Ware. And you're like, I'm about to get hit. If it ain't from him, it's from him. If it ain't from him, it's from him. I got 2 seconds to get rid of this fucking ball.
That's it.
Because they're unstoppable.
Well, you can't, like you said, you can only stop one or the other. And you can't stop both.
No. Von Miller it never changed. Von Miller went wide. DeMarcus Ware went in. You can't go forward. You can't go backwards.
And you can't go side to side.
You can't go side to side. Because they are going to eat your ass.
They got him.
And they're gonna be like, see you next play. Yeah. We got about 2 hours of this fucking game.
Yeah.
See you all fucking day.
Yep. You're right.
Good luck.
That's what I'm saying, though, is that like...
But then you have was it the no-fly zone for Denver?
Yeah. That's what they called it. You had to keep Talib and part of that. And at one point...
There was some bad motherfuckers on that defense.
There was a lot. You had John Lynch in there. I mean, that was way back in the day, but you had a lot of good players in there.
Dude.
Steve Atwater, obviously back in the day.
I wasn't around to witness Hawkins. The fucking 85 Bears, but Seattle Hawks defense and Denver's defense.
All the Legion of Boom, dude. When they had Cam Chancellor, Bobby Wagner, Richard Sherman when he was at
And
his
your
prime.
Broncos were on the worst end of that.
I know that they were dueling that title of best defense, right? For like 2-3 years that was going on.
And he's going to hit you.
Yeah.
He's not going to be inaccurate because he's been doing it since Pee Wee football.
Yeah.
And he's the best in his position.
He was the man.
He's not going for an interception.
When he came to Denver, I remember watching games where sometimes he would miss time things and he'd go flying past people, right?
Full speed.
Yes. That's what I mean.
It's like a blur on the TV. Like,
yes. He'd go,
who the fuck was that?
Yes. It's Brian Dawkins.
That's Dawkins. He missed the tackle.
Yeah, I called him Hawkins earlier. That's going to be an edit. I misspoke.
No,
Dawkins. Brian Dawkins. He came in and was trying to take people's heads off. Like, trying to kill them.
Because he's an old soul. He comes from an old NFL.
Oh, yeah.
He comes from an old NFL where
different game.
I'm going to hit you.
He came from the Mike Allstott era.
Oh, Mike Allstott.
You remember watching Mike Allstott from Tampa Bay? Just
That's how a white man run a football.
But for real, do you remember watching Mike Allstott make people look like children? He would truck linebackers. Douche. Get off me.
Allstott,
Favorite running back of all time. Mine.
the bus, Pittsburgh.
Oh, Bettis. Bettis is good.
Let me tell you something.
Walter Payton, the sweetness, baby.
That's different. That's a different animal. Different time, different era.
Yeah, but he was like Bo Jackson.
He's a shit.
Oh, he's like Bo Jackson when he played in the fucking
Bo
NFL.
Jackson is a different animal. Bo Jackson hurt himself.
I know. But when with those type of dudes like the Walter Payton and the Bo Jackson, when they were playing, they had such a different level of athleticism and knowledge of the sport.
Well, you can't teach that.
No. You're born with that. You are born with that, and no one else is.
No.
That is what it is.
They are a
they hit the genetic lottery to be able to fucking treat
and it's not even just the genetic.
Athletes.
So the genetic lottery is half of it. The other half of it is
hard work,
cerebral. Like they know the game.
Yeah,
they're studious. They just know. They know what you think you know. They're already there. Luke Kuechly, going back to, he knows the play before you're going to call it, and he's there. But that's
Peyton Manning.
Oh gosh, dude!
You want to talk about the greatest offensive mind of all time to be able to read defenses? I don't think there's anyone better, right? And that's why Peyton Manning has always been in the conversation of being a GOAT. Though he didn't have the Super Bowl rings.
His neck. Well, I mean, he played for a long time.
He did play for a long time, but what I mean is that like he had the ability to read defenses better than anyone ever could.
Because even when he was old, he knew he couldn't throw.
Right.
Still won you a Super Bowl.
Yeah. And Super Bowl 50, the same thing. He couldn't throw past 40 yards.
And his job was, and he knew this. He's like, my job is not to turn the fucking ball over.
Right. All I got to do is get first downs. That's my job.
If I don't score, I ain't worried about it because my defense will score.
Yeah.
One, maybe two.
That was when Denver's defense was the shit.
But he knew it. He already knew it.
Dude, like you said, he knew he couldn't throw a ball past 40 yards.
Fuck no.
He couldn't.
But you know what?
He knew that.
All he had to do was be an experienced quarterback, look people off.
Your check downs, right? Your option 1, 2, 3. He had to be able to do that. And he knew he couldn't throw it past 40 yards. He knew that all he had to do was not turn the ball over.
And even he admitted it. He goes, if it weren't for my defense, that's why I came here. If it weren't for my defense, we would have never got the Super Bowl.
Well, guess what? Another big key reason why that defense was so good. Wade Phillips.
Yeah, he's old school.
Guess where he went to the year after the Denver won the Super Bowl? The fucking Rams. And guess when the Rams started getting good? The year after the Denver won the Super Bowl, he became the defensive coordinator, and all of a sudden they got real good.
You know what I love about Wade Phillips? He simplifies everything. He's like, we don't need to have a complicated defense. It's the old school mentality of Belichick. Just do your job.
Right.
You have certain roles on the defense. I just need you to do your job. We ain't going to run anything fucking crazy. No hybrid packages of cover.
Right. You don't got to incorporate a bunch of twists and, QB spies and all
it's
that
like,
shit.
This is the defense. Stick to it. Be good at it.
There's a blueprint. Follow it.
Yeah.
And you'll be successful.
We're not going to. That's what hurt the Cowboys. We would get these defensive coordinators, and they try
hold
to.
on. But let me ask you a question as a Dallas fan. Why do you think Jason Garrett got so much tenure there, even though he wasn't that successful at being a head coach?
Oh, that's easy. Jerry Jones.
That's it? Is that it?
Jerry loved him.
Pure and simple?
What I like about Jerry, for one, set aside the general manager duties. Right? Set aside that part.
Okay.
He is the best owner in the NFL. Owner, not general manager.
Nobody say that.
Look at the Cowboys. If it weren't for him buying the Cowboys, taking them over, marketing them.
Let me ask you a question. Do you know this? Do you know when Jerry Jones took over ownership and like?
I don't know this. I should know this, and I do know this, but because we've been drinking this and that. When he took over, he was already a business mogul, like
right.
coming out of college.
So, okay, Do you know the time frame when he bought them? Was it when Emmitt Smith was still with him?
Who?
Emmitt Smith?
No. They drafted Emmitt Smith because of him.
Okay, but was Jerry Jones part of the ownership at that time?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
But at that time, Jimmy Johnson
Right.
was drafting the players.
Right. He had a big hand. He was a head coach, right?
Jimmy Johnson was the guy.
Yeah.
I draft the players, but how
He
Jerry
was doing a Bill Belichick type thing, right?
But how Jerry looked at it was, I give you the power,
Right.
therefore it's 50% of the credit.
Sure. I mean, I
didn't pick the players, but I'm the one that gave you the power to pick the players. But he took over. The old owner of the Cowboys sold it to Jerry, and Jerry is the only owner that I know, literally, because I follow sports like religiously, that has fired 3 Super Bowl winning coaches. He's fired them. He fired Tom Landry, Super Bowl winning coach. Fired Jimmy Johnson, Super Bowl winning coach. Fired Barry Switzer, Super Bowl winning coach. Even though it was Jimmy's team, he fired him. What fucking owner fires Super Bowl winning coaches?
I'm not sure. I don't know if I can answer that question.
It's unheard of.
Like that. But let me ask you this question. When you're talking about a good owner, when you have, I want to refer to the New England Patriots just because of Bill Belichick, right?
Because he stays out of the way. Robert Kraft.
Right. Well, yeah, I know Robert Kraft's the owner of the New England Patriots. But I think what Robert Kraft did in his approach that was different than Jerry Jones.
100% night and day.
He put 100% soul and belief in Bill, right? Yeah. And said, Bill, this is your team. Do what you need to do.
And if you don't succeed, I will fire you.
Right.
But Bill succeeded. Now, Brady is a big part of that.
Well, of course he was.
And Brady's proving that right now.
Oh, that was the big debate, right? That was the big debate. When Tom Brady left New England, everyone was asking the precipice, who made who, right?
He's answering that.
The good old AC/DC tune, who made who? Did Tom Brady make Bill Belichick, or did Bill Belichick make Tom Brady?
So even when Brady was playing with Belichick, I was a big proponent of, that's Brady. Belichick is number 2. That's all. That would be like you being I forget his name, but that would be like you being the head coach and Michael Jordan is your star player.
Oh man, that's tough.
Like you're not shit without your star player.
Right. What do you do?
You're just not. Because I guarantee you, he wouldn't have Phil Jackson. He wouldn't have won all those NBA championships if he didn't have Michael Jordan.
Well, let me say this too.
There's no fucking way.
Is that the other thing about the New England dynasty though, is that I think that Tom Brady and Bill Belichick were so in sync with their mentality on how they approach football as a whole.
Oh, yeah.
That's why it worked, right?
Well,
that's why Brady could keep himself in check to Bill, and Bill could keep himself in check to Tom.
I hate the Patriots. Right? I love Brady because Brady stayed in his lane. I'm the quarterback. You're the coach.
Yeah, be my coach.
You're my coach.
But also understand that when I tell you things, it's from QB's perspective, and I might know what I'm talking about.
But Brady was good enough to be like, whatever you want, coach.
Yeah.
We're going to make this work.
And that's the thing. That's what I'm trying to say. Though.
And I think he got tired of it.
When we're talking about New England specifically, and we're talking about owners and Bob Kraft, Jerry Jones, when you have a head coach like Bill Belichick, the way he templated the New England Patriots with Tom Brady, when Brady stepped up into that role, Bill Belichick set the blueprint and said,
100%
hey,
discipline.
Right. And you can follow it through the years of their success where Bill Belichick told players and stood by it and said, I don't give a fuck where you come from. I don't care where you were drafted. If you don't do your job and if you don't produce like I need you to, you will be cut and someone will come replace you because there's someone out there right now that is going to outwork you and I'll find him. I'll find him. And he did.
And here's the beauty about Bill Belichick versus Tom Brady. Belichick as a coach / GM is, if you ask for more money, too easy. I'm about to trade your ass.
Yeah.
To the worst team in the league.
Yes.
Get draft picks for you.
Yep.
You deserve your money. You do deserve your money. You ain't gonna get it from me.
But that's why Tom stayed, right? Because Tom understood.
Yeah.
He understood, well, I can stay with Bill, build the dynasty. I can get Bill to get me the players I need.
It also helps when you have a spouse that makes more money than you.
Okay, well, yes. That's
because if you didn't have that, you would be chasing money.
I get that. But at the same time, a true champion understands that it's not about money.
You're right. That's Brady.
It's not about money.
Brady wants those fucking rings.
Right, exactly. And guess what he got? All of them.
What you alluded to earlier to the safety is do your job. This is what you get paid for. Let's win.
Right. And that's what I'm
Brady
saying.
was all about that. And he still is. Even when he plays for Tampa Bay, he's still not the highest paid quarterback.
Right. Isn't that fucking crazy?
Because he wants to fucking win.
Tom Brady is not the highest paid quarterback in the NFL, and he's going to go down as the greatest of all time.
Yep.
He will.
Because he don't give a
He will.
He gives a fuck about what matters.
Winning championships.
Give me a fucking ring.
Winning championships.
My favorite quote from Brady when they ask him, which one is your favorite Super Bowl ring? You know what his answer is?
All of them.
No. This is his answer. The next one.